What are things that were apparent early on that were kind of frustrating, that are still frustrating, and that you've recognized like this is part of who he is or part of who she is?
One is like my rigidity. One, it's not always like, I don't make it known always what the rule book is.
And it's in your mind.
And so I have like set expectations, and then Nate will often not meet those set expectations. And so I get frustrated.
It goes to like my way or the highway. Like, I'm the authority.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith and pride in my research and my analyses.
There's a right way and all other ways.
Yes. And I also like I'm not afraid to argue. I'm not afraid to I will 100% pose my view, and if it's contrary to your view, I will tell you why. I'm like, your view, like, this is why I have my view, and these are my reasonings.
Welcome to the Healthy and Happy Relationships Podcast. I'm Dr. Denim Slade, and most relationship advice tells you to change who you are to make it work. Here, we believe you need to stop fixing a version of yourself that never existed in the first place. We use the core temperament model of personality to help you understand your natural wiring so that you can finally be understood and happy in your relationships, which we do using your temperament. Temperament explains why you do the things that you do because of the way that your brain is wired. I really hope that you enjoy watching this video. Stay tuned to learn more about how you can find your healthy relationship. Today I am joined with Nathan. Do you want to be Nathan or Nate?
You can call me either or.
With Nathan Maxwell Geary.
Please refer to me in my full title.
So why don't you guys introduce yourselves to us, please?
I'm Nathan.
I'm Allie. We are both from St. George. We've known each other for 6.5 years.
Yeah, give or take.
The timeline is fuzzy, but we've been married for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And we've got 2 kids, ages 4 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. When the two of you were first, well, let me ask you this. What were some of the things that attracted you to each other that now at this point you recognize as like foundational temperament or personality characteristics or aspects of the other person?
So we first met at a dance, an institute dance, and Nate, I remembered him. He doesn't remember me from our first time that we met. It was like a brief.
I remember her vaguely, but she doesn't count that in her heart.
Well, he said that like months.
You didn't like see stars going off or anything?
No, but I remember dancing with her and be like, oh, I really like this girl. Oh, she's at Utah State. She lives 7 hours away. I'll never see her again.
Anyway, so we first danced with each other at the institute dance, and we like kept talking afterwards. Like the dance was over, and then we just like kept chatting, and I was like, I really like this guy. Like, he seems genuinely interested in who I am, makes me feel cared about, and like he was very warm. And so that was something that I continued to just realize as we went on dates. It was like, oh, this person is really easy for me to talk to. He's really easygoing and just feels like he cares about me as a person.
Yeah. And then the times were kind of after that, where we'd kind of had more interactions and kind of gotten to know each other a little more. Some things that I really liked and saw in Allie and still do is her proactiveness. Like, she had set up one of our first dates through a mutual friend of ours. And then after our day, like, she had sent me like a gift. And again, that's very proactive. And it was like, oh, wow, like, that's a clear sign. That's very obvious. She doesn't play any games. She's just very upfront about who she is. And
purposeful.
Yeah, and I really like that.
What are things that were apparent early on that were kind of frustrating, that are still frustrating, and that you've recognized, like, this is part of who he is or part of who she is?
One that I think is pretty fair is just that Allie takes a while to warm up. And not to me, she does take a while to warm up to me, but like just in general, like she's expressed like, living next to people for years before befriending them, and now they're her like closest friends. And so like even our relationship nowadays, like there's still times and different things that she needs more time to warm up to me. That was definitely more apparent early on, and I think as we've lived together for 6 years, she's like slowly figuring it out.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Probably never going to go away.
I know.
That is like a thing that we struggle with for the first several years of our marriage. I feel like we're understanding a little bit more of each other in that way. But like when we first started dating, it wasn't as apparent that I took a long time to warm up because we were hanging out with family and friends and people I was comfortable with, and I was comfortable around Nate. And so a lot of like my onus would come out of like, yeah, we're having fun. Like this is a good time. Let's go do like more spontaneous things in a dating structure. But then once we got married, like I have these two different things that I struggle with my E-ness, and one is being slow to warm up. And so it's kind of like Nate was caught off guard when we were married. He was like, I thought you were this outgoing social person. Come to find out, like you seems like you can't talk to anyone when we go visit my family and my friends. And then I also struggle with like this idea that like once I have established who I am in a social situation, it's hard for me to break out of it. It's like, oh, your family now knows me as this quiet, reserved person. So I feel really uncomfortable stepping out of that and becoming like more of who I am around my family. So like those two dynamics, I think, has made it just challenging, especially the first year or two in our marriage and interacting with other people.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there. Allie is an EO, and even in what you were talking about, Nate, with some of what you liked initially there, you see the interplay between the E part of you and the O part of you, because E's are very purposeful and intentional in what they do. And when an E thinks about anything, they think about like, this is the best way to do it. You want a guy to know that you're interested in him? This is how you go about doing that. And then you also see the interplay with the O part of you, where you were social and you were wanting to make that fun happen, and so you see that dynamic interplay internally between you, or within you, I guess, and between the parts of you.
I have one about Nate.
Yeah, sure.
I was just going to say something that I struggled with initially in our marriage, because his onus is like, he is thoughtful and he's very social and will make time for everybody, it feels like. And so it was hard for me to feel special. It was like, oh, well, like you're not doing anything that you wouldn't do for anybody else that you would for me. And so like, how am I, like, I don't feel like a special person in your life because I see you sacrifice or like for anyone, or like at the drop of a hat be like, yeah, I'll go like help this person. And so that was like something that was hard.
Yeah, and that's a really good, that is a really good temperament variable there, because O's are the most social of any of the temperaments. They're the most people oriented of any of the temperaments, and a lot of times people in relationships with O's report that. They're like, yeah, I love what I get with him. I love how attentive he is. I love the energy he puts in, and everybody else gets that same goodness. And one of the things that makes the primary attachment relationship special is what we call passionate love. And passionate love is feeling like you are uniquely special to that other person. And sometimes with an O, that can be kind of hard. It can be hard to find what do I get? What aspects of him do I get that everybody else doesn't get? And that can be a challenge. A lot of times people like the idea of an O, and they like what they get initially. But then sometimes the more they get to know them, and then some of the challenging aspects of O-ness show up later in a relationship. It's kind of an interesting aspect of temperament, where some temperaments, the challenges or weaknesses tend to be seen right up front, and the strengths you see as you get into the relationship a little bit. And then with O's and R's, you tend to see some of the challenges later you see their strengths first and then get into some of the challenges later. And so that's a really good point, Allie.
If I may, I just think that's a really interesting analysis because I totally agree. I've always thought of in myself, like, I've got really good early stage friendship and pretty good, like, well, I would also say really good end game friendship. But my middle game is kind of rough. It's like, it takes two to tango. It takes two to have a friendship. And I feel like, I can be really powerful in the beginning. And then it kind of like, I'm also that way with other people. So it's the time investment in friendships and people and connections. And so those who are willing to last it out till the end are like, yeah, I know he's always got my back. Like, some of my closest friends I've known for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I can call him once a year and then, but see him in like, it's been like 4 years and be like, nothing's changed at all. And
you feel just as connected.
Yeah,
and
be like, yeah, I could do, like, we'd have each other's back with anything. That's how it felt moving back to town and reconnecting with some of my friends. So,
yeah, that's a really good point. Let me ask you another question here. And I don't care who starts this, but what do you think the other person would say is the most challenging aspect of your temperament for them?
I've got like two.
Okay.
One is like my rigidity. Like, I have like a set rule book in my mind. And one, it's not always like, I don't make it known always what the rule book is.
And it's in your mind.
And so I have like set expectations, and then Nate will often not meet those set expectations. And so I get frustrated. And I also have a hard time like deviating from like what I thought was the plan or the best way to do it. And it takes a lot of time for me to like, if he brings something else to the table, for me to be willing to be like, okay, let me like figure this out. Like, let me wrap my brain around like changing directions in my mind. And so I think that is one. Another is like how easily overstimulated I get, like, because there's not a lot of signs, and that it's hard, like, as a parent. I mean, every parent gets overstimulated, but Nate gets less overstimulated than I do. And so I think that one is hard because I can often go from just like, all right, I'm doing okay, and then all of a sudden I'm like going crazy, and it happens more often than both of us would like.
Yeah, which is very temperamental. I don't know, I'm going to find out if you're right in just a second, but those are two very predictable E traits. Right? No matter what the E brain is thinking about, it's trying to figure out the best way to do whatever that is. And then once it like decides on the best way or the right way, it's really hard. And E has a lot of confidence in the conclusions that they draw as that being the way to do it. And so it can be, it's really insightful on your part. And you know Core well, but it's really insightful on your part to be able to recognize that part of your E-ness might be challenging for him. And then the overstimulated. Well, another part there too is E's are the most internal processors of any of the temperaments. And when an E gets disorganized, they tend to go inside, work through things, get it settled, and then come back out. And when they come back out, for them, it's not necessary to share what's been going on in their heads. And so sometimes they forget that the other person doesn't know all the machinations that have been going on internally, and it's important to be able to share those. And then the overstimulated E's get really intensely focused on things and have tremendous perseverance in their ability to stay in something. And when something is trying to pull them away, it can be super frustrating. It's one of the things that makes parenting really challenging for E's, because you can't push pause on a little kid, right? And so that can be pretty tough. Is she right?
I think like in a roundabout way, I think, yeah. I'll clarify, like, kind of what came to my mind, which I think is encompassed by what is brought up, kind of like the exactness a little bit, but not in the sense of like, well, I guess kind of a little, it goes to like my way or the highway. Like, I'm the authority.
Yeah.
I have a lot of faith and pride in my research and my analyses.
There's a right way and all other ways.
Yes. And I also like I'm not afraid to argue. I'm not afraid to like, I will 100% pose my view, and if it's contrary to your view, I will tell you why. I'm like, your view, like, this is why I have my view, and these are my reasonings, and it's okay if you disagree with my reasonings, but this is where I'm at. And that's caused a lot of conflict. I'm like, well, she's done research too, and she's also really smart and also does analyses and like trusts her own authority over mine. It has a hard time with that. Like, well, if you don't think I'm right, you think I'm dumb. You think I don't do good analyses. You trust yourself over me. It's like, yes.
Because if you were seeing this clearly, you would also agree with
Yeah. So
my point of view.
which is, I mean, there's no problem with like being strong-willed and like doing your research and like trusting yourself, but it's kind of the my way or highway issue that I hold to. It's like, you can debate me and you can say that I'm wrong all day, I don't care, but if you're gonna be mad at me for disagreeing, then that's where I draw a line. And that has happened, and it sounds like that's a temperament thing.
I just take it personally. I'm like, you don't agree with me, like that's a personal problem, you're attacking me.
And E's thoughts become sacred to them. It's almost like these, in fact, a lot of times E's will hesitate to share what they think or feel with somebody because their thoughts can feel like pearls, and it can feel like they're casting their pearls if they're not pretty sure that the other person really wants to know what they think, and E has a hard time sharing. Okay, so same thing. What would you say are two or a few of the most challenging aspects of your temperament for her?
Probably fluidity, like random spontaneity, just like, hey, I'm at work and I'm on my way home. Oh, also my friend needs help moving the couch. Like, he's a good friend of mine and I see him often. Like he needs my help. I'll be late. Like, you're home with the girls now. Or like, I thought this was your favorite thing. I thought you loved this thing. It's like, I don't even know why you think that. That's definitely happened where I was like, you love this. I'm like, I don't have any opinion on that thing at all. It's like, you said so. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe at one point I really liked it and now I don't, but I don't have any recollection of like loving that thing. So I think that's just difficult. I think it's just difficult, just the maybe how unsteady it can feel. To feel like it's hard to like have a grounding when it's like ever changing.
Yeah.
And I think the important things I've founded on and like foundational, but like everyday life can be a little like, probably. And I think that's probably pretty difficult.
And super O.
Yeah.
Because one of the strengths of the O is seeing the potential and the possibility, and O's are super spontaneous, especially if something seems like it will be enjoyable. And not that going and helping your buddy with something the activity might not necessarily be enjoyable, but having an opportunity to help somebody out or to spend some time with your buddy. O's are really good at shifting gears, and E's struggle to shift gears quickly. Is he right?
I think so. Like, I would say, like, with fluidity, just like awareness of time, like inaccessibility sometimes, where it's like I'll come up with a routine or a plan or a structure, and then it's like, oh, like that just got thrown out the window, or
with his spontaneity.
Right. And so, like, yeah, I think that's what came to mind as well.
Allie, let's go back to you. What do you think he most loves or appreciates about your temperament?
Mm-hmm.
You were a little quicker on the negatives.
Like, I know like my answer, but I'm just like trying to flesh it out after the initial.
That's very E.
That is.
Whoa.
I think he likes like my consistency and like intention a lot. Like if I'm going to put like intention like into something like family or like relationships, then like that just becomes like the most important thing to me, and I will try to center and revolve everything kind of around that
priority.
And so
I mean, I definitely do like that about her for sure. I think the one that I was thinking of is like just, and I think it's similar to like making things happen. I think O's have a hard time with that sometimes. And I think that like I told Allie this a while ago. It's like all of our trips are because of her. Like anything that we've gone and done, like that was kind of fun. It's like 99% because of her, which I really appreciate that she is willing to and is good at putting thought into research and studying. Like, oh, this is a good place to go. This is a good time of year. This is what we're going to need.
You benefit from that research,
Yes.
right?
Obviously, there's many things I love about Allie, but as far as temperament goes, that's like an easy one that comes to mind.
Yeah. What do you think she would say she most values about your onus?
Probably like my enjoyment of like adventure, exploration, like how I like being playful with our children, like that kind of like the funness that comes with onus. That's just very easy, like to like, oh, that's fun and exciting, and like it might be too much sometimes, but it also is enjoyable when it's enjoyable.
Yeah. Is he right?
Yeah, like it's just really valuable to have someone. I mean, I like as a secretary, like I obviously love fun too, but like I feel like I wanted to marry someone that we could just have a really fun, family-centered, activity-based family.
It was the right way to do it.
I know. And so like we were just talking the other day where I was like, I love being married to Nate because I always, like I said, I've always wanted to have a family where I was like, yeah, like I have an idea and now I want to go execute it. And his temperament makes it really easy to do that. He's game. Even if it's not something that he's like, yeah, that sounds way fun, I can convince him into being like, yeah, it's going to be fun. Just do it. Just do it. You'll see that it's fun. And then it usually is. And so it's something that is really valuable in parenting and in our relationship. And so I really like that.
Okay, let's talk about some chores. Cleaning the house, shared spaces, that kind of thing. What are some differences that show up in the way that you guys approach cleaning or kind of running things around the house?
You can go first, so
I'll think about it. I think it's difficult because it's like when you have children in the mix, it's like there's a lot more that's outside your control. I'll specifically talk about our approach to dishes because that is a little more in our control. Our girls aren't throwing toys in the sink very often. The way I like to do dishes, or like approach putting dirty dishes away, at least, is like I try to leave one side of the sink open and the other side is full, and like some stuff on the table or like on the countertop. Allie hates that. She's like, it's a mess, it's gross. I'm like, sure. Or if you just throw everything in the sink and it's piled high, you can't use either, and then you have to do it anyways, and now everything's wet and disgusting. And so you're making a bigger mess for yourself, and you can't do dishes throughout the day, or like because both sinks are full. So I don't know if that. I don't think that's necessarily an temperament or
No,
but
no.
it makes it more doable.
You've got secondary enos.
I do have secondary
enos, and this is a good example of your secondary enos coming into contact with her primary enos, right? Because your enos is also thinking about that, and like this is the best way to do the dishes.
Like, yeah, we had an argument about this earlier today. So to me, there's like, because I'm not like in my family, I'm not the clean person. Like in my family, I am like the messy person. And so my enos doesn't come out in that way, except for when I decide we're going to be clean about this, then, I'm going to have a system in place and I'm going to be like, we're going to be consistent on this. Anyway, so that's how I'll be clean. Like we have like cleanup Saturdays. And if Nate's cleaning up, he's just like, let's hurry and get this cleaned up and just sticking things where he thinks they go. And I'm like, we're cleaning. Let's take every tiny little thing and put them in its spot. So that way it's like really clean. Anyway, that's where I feel like it.
Well, and that really underscores Enos there too. Both in you being messy and then ultra clean, because E's have a hard time doing anything halfway. And so if an E doesn't feel like they're going to be able to do it in sort of the idyllic, perfect way that they think it ought to be done, they won't do it at all. E's have a really hard time doing something with what feels halfway. And then if they are going to think about something, then they're going to have a strong opinion about it, and they're going to want, once an E starts something, they have tremendous tenacity in being able to grind through it. And cleaning is not very fun. And so it's not at all uncommon for O-ness, and your E-ness might get in there a little bit, but it's not at all uncommon for O's just to want to get it done. Yeah, you need to clean, it's clean up Saturday or whatever, and you need to do it, but you're not going to want to make it more of a drag than it has to be.
I think in my mindset, the way I approach our cleanup Saturday is like quantity over quality. Like with kids, there's just stuff scattered across our whole home. And I feel like I'm majority the one finding all the scattered things and putting them somewhere where I believe they go. Apparently that's not the right spot to go. Allie thinks I just move things around, and like essentially that's all picking up is just moving it to an organized spot. I'm not like cleaning every toy, and neither is she. And we're not like, this is exactly where it has to go, and we put it away. It's like we have like a basket of like stuff, or we have like a thing that toys generally go in. So that's where toys generally go. General toys go. And the girls get them all out anyways and mix everything anyways. And so like they're not keeping a system. So I'm not super worried about keeping a system because they're just going to get it all out tomorrow anyways. And so that's my approach is general cleanliness is better than nothing.
When you guys are trying to get out the door, what typically happens?
It depends.
Yeah, it does depend.
Like if it's just me and Allie, or me and Allie and our kids, and whose event is it that we're going to? If it's Allie's event, she's like, let's freaking go. Kind of like she'll be in the car. I'm like, I'm not even halfway ready. What are you doing in the car? But if it's my event, I'm in the car and she's like, I didn't think you really cared to be on time. I'm like, well, I do.
That's like one thing so my friend, he's also an O, and I talked about that with him because he's married to a C. And so I was like, in our marriage, like Nate's kind of known, especially by his friends, for always being late. And so I was like, well, he doesn't super care to be on time. So like if we were going to an event with his friends, I wasn't prioritizing being on time. But then he would get upset of like, why are you always making us late? And I was like, oh, I didn't realize. We had that conversation a few months ago where I was like, if you tell me it's important to be on time, I will try to be on time, and I will be on time. But I didn't think it was important to you. And my friend has that same thing where he's like, my wife has started being more late because she's like, well, he's not going to be ready on time, so I will just take my time.
Well, and that, I don't know if this is what's driving this for you, but O's are driven by enjoyment, and they want to be having fun and enjoying themselves. And if something holds the possibility for fun, O's are game to go there and reluctant to leave. As long as an O is enjoying themselves, they want one more game, one more round, one more mile, one more whatever. As long as they're having fun, they have tremendous ability to keep going. If they're not, it's hard for an O to keep going. And so I would assume that when it's like with your friends or something, in your mind, it's like, yeah, let's get to the fun. This is going to be a great activity, and I want to be there more. I don't know.
I don't know if that's necessarily like my motivation or thought process. As I've gotten older, like punctuality is like more important, but not like the be all and I'm also not like, I'm not going to get frustrated about it. Like I'm never like yelling at Allie to hurry up, and I'm not like setting these hard expectations. Like timing matters, and that's part of why she doesn't realize it matters, because I'm not like, if it's her, she's like upset about it, but if it's me, I'm like, it's not the end of the world. We're just gonna be late and they're gonna make fun of me.
He's late again.
Yeah.
Well, and that's probably, I don't know if we want to open that can of worms.
Like, this isn't therapy. This is interview.
What I was gonna say is that that also shows probably part of your onus as well. Like, why fight if we don't need to? Conflict is a negative emotion, and so unless there's a pretty good motive or reason to do it, a lot of times those will not want to lean into fighting just to fight.
Oh, don't worry, I like to fight.
But it's because it's fun.
It's because it's fun for you.
I do enjoy a good debate.
Andresa, she was working on that what was it? Was it a cognitive cycle window of tolerance thing about core? Is that the biggest thing that gets like an E out of their window of tolerance is like time, like feeling like they don't have enough time or being like
Feeling rushed is huge for an E.
yeah. Ever since she said that, I was like, that is so true. And like that is so hard for me in my parenting because I'm like, I have to remind myself, I'm like, it's really not the end of the world if we're 3 minutes late to dance class. Like it's gonna be okay. And so like my kids can take a little bit longer. Anyway.
How do your temperaments show up when it comes to sex and physical connection?
Something that Allie talked to me about was when working out. She told me your story about how, like, if you're running and you're having a really good run, you come home, your wife is like, you must have had a really good run. That's how I feel about physical intimacy. And like, we're having a great time.
Physical intimacy or sexual intimacy?
Sexual intimacy. Like, we're having a great time. Like, we got time. Let's go. Like we got all night. Allie's a little more like, we did it. High five. We're done.
Let's move on. What do you notice temperament-wise?
Spontaneity is really hard. I struggle a lot being spontaneous and
or receiving spontaneity.
Yes. Receiving spontaneity. Like, hey, let's do it. They're like, whoa, this wasn't on my radar. Yeah. I need time to process it. So we usually will plan when we're gonna do that. That works well for me. Like initially when we got married, it was kind of like just doing the same thing. And I thought that was fine. And Nate was like, I like us to do a bunch of different stuff. Like, let's not just sit and do the same thing every time we get together.
Missionary is all we need.
Yeah. And that is actually a really, so what the way the E-brain works is trying to find the perfect process. Again, if an E is thinking about something, it's trying to figure out how to, the E-brain looks at what has happened to make it better for next time. And once they feel like they've got a process down that's working, the E-brain just wants to hit rinse and repeat. And if it's working and if it's working well, then the E doesn't naturally want to revisit that because they've spent the time and the energy researching, figuring out, and they've settled on this works, this feels good, and it's hard to want to for the E-brain to want to like revisit something that they finally feel like they've got going. And O's are spontaneous, and O's enjoy figuring things out. That's what's really fun for the O brain. It doesn't matter if it's the plot of a movie or a book that they're reading or how to what's going on in some interaction. O's really get a kick out of wrapping their brains around something, and they actually tend to get kind of bored once they have wrapped their brain around something. And that's one of the things that drives spontaneity is because they don't, and you don't want to be bored with your sexual intimacy. And so then it's like, well, let's see if we can figure out how to do something else here. So that is a real good representation of your temperaments there. Do you find that one of you is more emotionally driven and the other more task or rhythm driven? Well, kind of like you were talking about, Allie, with some of the like rigidity and planning can be good and like knowing what to expect. The E-brain doesn't shift gears really easy to like predictability, to like knowing what's coming. Sometimes that can lead to sexual intimacy being more process driven than emotional driven. And neither of you is a C, primary or secondary, and C's tend to be much more emotionally driven. But O's can be like emotion driven, but it's more like fun emotion. And hey, it'd be really fun if we had sex tonight. And I'd really enjoy connecting with you sexually. And so it can be like, hey, I'm kind of that hey, right, it'd be really great right now to, or like you were talking about, this is still fun. Let's keep making it fun. Let's keep going. That kind of stuff is more like perhaps more kind of the emotional driven versus more kind of like the process driven. Your male and femaleness certainly will come into play there as well, though.
Kind of into the emotion side of it on the opposite side. My mom had expressed to me, like in her second marriage, that like in a conversation with her husband, it was like when we're in a good space, I'm happy with you, like I want to be with you. But when we're fighting and like I'm not happy with you, why would I want to be with you? Like I don't want to be with you. But like like I kind of view that same way in our relationships. Like when I'm happy in our relationships, like I want to have more.
Yeah.
But when it's like we're fighting and I'm frustrated with you, like I don't want to have sex with you. Like no, like you need to heal this little bond, like this little.
We got to get the connection back again.
Yeah, and so as far as emotions go, I would say like that is a real thing. But obviously, like I have I would say stereotypically men are like whatever, we can have sex even if we're like mad at each other, and to some extent, but also I would say like depending on our argument, there's definitely been times where I'm like I don't, and Allie's not usually like initiating, but like emotionally I'm like I don't want to connect like that right now.
And that's actually a really good point as well, showing where kind of gender and temperament meet. Because in general, the research shows that in general, women want to have sex as a result of feeling close and connected to their partner, their spouse. And that closeness fuels that. And generally for men feel close as a result of sex. However, with both O and C men, that can kind of ameliorate or influence a little bit some of those gender norms where an O doesn't have a lot of tolerance for any negative emotion in general. And so if things don't feel good and things feel like they're heavy, there's disconnection, there's yuckiness in between the two of you, then an O doesn't want to go there at all. It can influence the way that your male brain might normally handle things.
Thinking about Allie in regards to sexual intimacy, I'm not sure what this is defined as, probably more emotion or just thought processes, is like if there's something that she's ruminating on, whether about me or anyone else, like anything that's like she's like just really chewing on, like she can stop sex midway and just be like, I'm really worried about this thing that's entirely unrelated to us.
Yeah. Enos. Certainly Enos. Again, the E strength is focus. And E's have this ability to laser focus on things, and everything else kind of fades into the background, and they can stay on something for a really long time. My brother's an orthopedic hand surgeon, and he can operate on a single joint for 8 hours and he's an E, and that E brain can just zero in on that. And it's really hard when they're focused on something to pull their brain away. And so what's likely happening for you is you've probably been trying to pull your brain off of whatever it was focused on, and then your brain wins and sex loses in those moments. Does that make sense? Am I off?
No, that makes sense. Planning
and decision making. When it's time to plan something big, vacation, project, even dinner, how do your styles clash or complement each other?
I honestly don't feel like they clash that much, because I'll just plan it and then be like, hey, Nate, this is what I was thinking. And he's like, that sounds good.
That's pretty fair. And if I don't agree, I'm like, I don't like that. Let's figure that out.
Yeah. And that is a good example of how your Enos and Onus complement each other, because O's typically aren't super great at planning. They're great at spontaneity, but they're not typically good at like, what do you want to do for Christmas, or what do you want to do, for next summer vacation?
Yeah, it's like that's so far away. I got so many other things to be spontaneous about. Like I don't even.
Right, and O's live in the present, and so they don't think about things until it's time to think about them.
Christmas Eve.
Right.
Well, Allie's like, I can't wait for our next thing. It's like, we got so much before that to like.
Right. And E's love researching and planning. And so it's really awesome. That's a really good example of taking advantage of the strengths that she brings to the table to compensate for some of the negative aspects of planning for an O. And so your willingness to like let her, lean into her strength is super awesome. I'm an O and I'm married to an R, and R's very much live in the future and want to be knowing what's going on. And I'm not as good at feeding that for her. I tend to drag my feet and say, oh, I'm not sure, and let's see. And we're going out of town tomorrow, and Ellen's like, what time are we going? And I'm like, I don't know. Depends on how long pickleball lasts.
Depends how fun it is.
It depends on how much fun I'm having. And she's thinking of things that I'm not even thinking about. So that's a really good example of how the two of you complement each other. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. And I also really hope that you learned something about temperament and your wiring. If you haven't taken the free core assessment yet, make sure that you do that in the link below. And if you have any questions or topics that you want us to discuss, please feel free to leave them in the comments below also. If you liked what you saw, make sure to watch these other videos on temperament so that you can start on your journey to finding your healthy and happy relationships. Thanks for watching.